behavioral therapy is the most widely practiced, most efficacious general kind of therapy for treating mood disorders, depression, anxiety, and a lot of other disorders that are related to those. It was discovered by Aaron Beck and a few others in the 1960s, they discovered that their depressed patients would go in these cycles. They would ruminate. They would say these distorted thoughts over and over again, like, this thing went wrong, and it went wrong because I'm stupid, and I'll always be stupid, and this always happens to me. And he would try to argue with them. And he found that actually, if you can get them to interrupt those thoughts, then at least temporarily, the pain goes away. They get a little bit of relief.
It's deceptively simple. What you're supposed to do is when you have...
Yeah, I go on AJ's rants a good amount. I just started this channel like a month ago or so, and so please like and subscribe, guys, just because it it helps me do this algorithm bullshit. And I really want to give you guys quality content with some good laughs, thoughts, and value and insight. I think this is important.
Have like a really strong negative reaction to something, you're supposed to sit down and write down what the initial thought was and what the evidence was of that thought, and then pick a cognitive distortion. And cognitive distortions are mental exaggerations. They're things that everybody's brain does that distorts the way reality looks like. So for example, a really common one is binary thinking, that either everything's horrible or everything's great. There's no shades of gray. There is catastrophizing, of course, which is, like a date doesn't go well and you think it's over for you, that you're never going to find anybody.
The amazing thing is that Beck's discovery was actually widely known in ancient Greece and Rome.
Holy shit, he's going to talk about what I was talking about.
World.
Hang on, I actually haven't seen this. I was just literally about to go to switch to this. See how he's thinking in binary from the Plato's cave? See this? So again, we'll watch this for another minute. These are binary. They have to be binary because they're just shadow puppets.
You see men.
These are the college professors holding the shadow puppets up. This is the Black Mirror TV screen, computer screen, college campus, etc. This is the fake sun.
Passing along the wall, carrying all sorts of articles which they hold projected above the wall. Statues of men and animals made of wood and stone and various materials.
So this is like the if you're black you can't do it. This is the that autistic chick's mindset and all that. I did not know they were going to bring it back to that. So they're kind of almost talking about what I was.
Recognize that we have these distorted thoughts, and if you can teach yourself to see reality more clearly and break those thought cycles, you get relief from the suffering.
And unless you actually make a habit of it,
pause it and get lit for this shit. You guys got to be getting high tonight for this, or drinking. This is some deep thought. If you have illicit drugs, please take them now. Like and subscribe.
You're never going to reach the point where your brain starts talking back to those negative voices that you have in your head. And that's why it kind of snuck up on me. I was doing it several times a day for months and months and months, and at times even wondering like if I was making real progress. And I remember sometime in the fall of 2008, having that little narrative about being broken, pop up.
So yeah, liberty with AI, it can become one of the new gods because it's the god for these people in a way. So we're saying the same thing again.
And it just didn't feel true.
Good chats in here.
In a relatively short period of time, given how intense it was amazing like, how much ground I was able to gain back over these things that I struggled with my whole life.
I didn't smoke weed, but I had this
I made like a weed and expression. We defend free speech and free thought on campus and off. Since I, work in higher ed, I'm on campus all the time, and I'm looking on campus, and I'm like, wow, it's kind of like administrators are telling students to.
Notice how they won't even walk on the grass either. That's another thing, because remember the other Nigerian guys, more from the natural world and stuff, like they're scared to walk on like grass
to catastrophize, to engage in binary thinking, to do all these things that I was taught not to do. They've disinvited hundreds of speakers to protect students from ideas or speech that might upset them. Even James...
These are representations of either the opposite side and or shades of gray.
Franco got canned. Administrators have cracked down on inappropriately directed laughter, harsh texts or emails, and lots of other speech crimes. Colleges provide websites and phone numbers so students can report people who offend them, even anonymously. Administrators teach students that they're fragile and in constant danger and can be permanently harmed by words. This is not a kind or compassionate
They're not teaching you, they're programming you this way because they get that's what we're seeing in society. That's why these people are acting this way, because they're like programmed
to teach people. But from 2008 to about 2013, I was like, well, you know, administrators seem to be selling all this catastrophizing, all these cognitive distortions, but at least students aren't buying them. They were kind of rolling their eyes at what administrators wanted to tell them. But then, right at the end of 2013, but all the way through 2014, it was like lightning hit. It was just completely different on campus, and suddenly students were
okay. So he was like a little bit older professor, but yeah, this is what I was talking about, where it's 2012, 2013. So again, it's kids born in like 1993 and above were the first generation to have smartphones and stuff starting in like middle school forward. So once they got to the college age, that's when a bunch of, you know, they really could start to track it more.
Popping up on campus who were making arguments that frankly to me sounded a lot like cognitive distortions.
In 2012, there was none of this. And
think it worked good for them?
There was a lot of it.
Think it worked good for them? What do they create here? When I say the word culture, it also means cult in a way. That's what these people are.
It was an extremely rapid and very troubling
shift. That's a cult member.
Suddenly, just in the last few years, Greg says, students on campuses around the country are being taught to catastrophize, to overgeneralize, to make mountains out of molehills.
And if they keep going this way, this awful worldview is going to make them depressed.
And it was like, boom, oh my God, this is what is happening. I thought Greg's idea was brilliant.
Oh, so he's the other author. Okay, awesome.
You know, I said to him, Greg, you've got to write this up.
Usually it's always this guy who speaks. He can seem a little zesty or annoying at sometimes. Other times he's really good.
How to write this?
I don't care if he's zesty or whatever. I like
for the Atlantic or something. And you know, if you want some help, like if you want a psychologist along to help you with the psychology terms, you know, I'd be glad to join as the second author.
Are you kidding?
Oh, so this guy is more the psychologist, and the other guy was more the data guy. But this guy is like he's not some dumb 304 psychologist. He, you know, is someone I think is respectable.
You know, if you want some help, like if you want a psychologist along to help you with the psychology terms, you know, I'd be glad to join as the second author.
Are you kidding? I told John I'd love to work with him. I was already a huge fan. And that was it, the beginning of the collaboration.
So, you know, we write the article, first draft in late 2014. We submit it in 2015, goes through editing, comes out in August. It gets a lot of attention.
The coddling of the American mind.
How good intentions and bad ideas are setting up a generation for failure.
You write about that adolescent anxiety and depression are unlike anything seen.
Yeah, and this is probably like 2015.
In modern times.
I don't agree that when you become students at colleges, have to be coddled and protected from different points of view.
A few months later, all hell broke loose, beginning at Yale.
You.
And again, what have some people might be new to the show. On one of the first or second episodes, I was talking about Yale, how they're always up to this nonsense, and they're part of the Ivy League elites that then dictate to you and make a ton of influences and stuff like that.
Step down. If that is what you think about being a professor, you should step down.
And this is you. This is us guys just standing there trying to have a decent conversation with someone, and you get this woman rudely yelling in your face, surrounded by black B-dubs and everything, and some media person right here taking advantage of it. And this guy probably had to shut his mouth too, but this guy was probably just asking like a regular debate question. He's not like an extremist.
Not about creating an intellectual space. It is not.
Things heat up even more in early 2017. Violent protests at Berkeley,
Mayhem on campus.
at Evergreen State College.
What about our protection right now?
That's a psyop. What did I say the last episode? And I haven't seen this either, but this is going to prove that I'm making some good points here that you can take away with you. Whenever they're saying, hey, hey, ho, ho, such and such has got to go, or doing that stupid chant, that is a Soros operation. That is a USAID bullshit, paid protester type shit. They paid these college kids like $200 to go out and do that. So let me just, you can barely hear it, but I'm going to rewind it, because I barely heard it.
You should step down. If that is what you think about being a pastor, you should step down. It is not about creating an intellectual space. It is not.
Things heat up even more in early 2017. Violent protests at Berkeley,
Mayhem on campus.
It's coming
at
up.
Evergreen State College.
Yes.
What about our protection right now?
Hey, hey, ho, ho. I don't even know what they said. It's something that's got to go.
Basically took the president of the university hostage. They wouldn't even let him go
I'm
to
just
the
telling you guys, that's dropping a gem. So that going forward, you ever see videos and stuff of protests and things, always look for that.
bathroom.
So I call up John in 2016 and say,
The problem's getting worse. We have to turn this into a book. I realized, like, okay, you know what? This is actually the problem of our age. This is a whole generation going off the rails.
I think it's really important to have great sympathy for younger people today, because they're just doing what older people are telling them. Like this idea that they're always in constant danger, that words will permanently harm them, and that they're much more fragile than they actually are. We're taking these brilliant, hardworking, amazing kids and teaching them that they're capable of much less than they actually are.
Learned obsolescence. And the bigotry of ho expectations. Oh! So that the men get the black people and stuff get the bigger bigotry of low expectations, but 304 is just get the bigotry of ho expectations. And that's what happened. Also, degeneracy spiked around this time.
So throughout the early 2000s, and even as late as 2015, 2016, we all thought that our students were millennials, the millennial generation.
And what we discovered early on was that this was a whole different generation hitting campus,
Yeah, they ate
which
the
is now
slop,
known as
Liberty.
Generation Z. People born 1996 or later.
They are really different from the millennials, much more depressed, anxious, and fragile. Interpreting generational change is a really tricky art. And you look at almost any indicator, you see, well, you know, it's going up a little bit here, or no, maybe it's going down a little bit here. And where?
Because this is what I'm saying. They're not like all victims or something, but they did deal with a variable that they has not really been in like a big society all at one time before.
Where do we cut it off? You almost never see elbows. You almost never see a hockey stick. You never see a line like this, except in 2012. Suddenly, from out of nowhere, teenagers, especially girls, they start rising very quickly. Nothing like this has ever happened before.
An argument that comes up all the time is just, oh, they're just more open about anxiety and depression. And that argument doesn't really hold up to the data, because not only has anxiety and depression gone way up among people from Gen Z, hospitalizations for self-harm, suicide attempts, and successful suicides have gone up just the same amount. So when John and I set out to write the book, we faced this huge
That's the book.
mystery. Why are Gen Zers so anxious and depressed? And the whole book is trying to figure out what's so different about them and why.
Just gonna refill my adult beverage while keeping this continuing. You do the same.
At the end of my freshman year, I go back home. I think one of the things that once I get home, the first thing that really hits me is just freedom. Like, I wasn't trying to pretend to say what I thought or not say what I thought. It was just like, while I was there, I was with me. I remember food really helped. I don't know why, but I just found Nigerian food again.
Why? Because it's non-GMO. Non-GMO, GOYSLOP. That's what it is. You get the better, real meats and stuff. You can be authentic. You can say what he wants. He can go there and just smash a woman in the face. He doesn't, but he feels better knowing he can do it. So Nigeria, he was more in touch with the physical world as well, or nature and everything. That's why I said he wasn't as affected by it. But for him, he got to de-stress about it. So he showed the mental fragility, and I think now that he goes back there, life's going to get way better for him, and he can take off a lot more being in a better environment, is what I'm assuming. But that looks like pretty good stuff.
And I was like, oh my God, you are me. We have gotten back to our element. I told my parents, I didn't tell them, the full details, but my parents, obviously they know their son. They could tell I was deeply sad. My parents were like, consider going back, just give it another shot. It's bad when, your dream is to go to American school and you come back and you're like, it's not for me. I'm not going back there.
I found out that George Floyd died from an email. It was from the student staff in my dorm. It came with trigger warnings, of course. The tone was very somber. We're here for you in this horrific time of violence, brutality, racism, everything. There was this barrage of emails from, it seemed like almost every department. Group chats were overflowing with these are the bail funds, these are things you can do. It was so much pressure to take all these actions and to adopt these perspectives without asking any questions. It kind of sent me into a tailspin. I was anxious. I felt guilty constantly. I couldn't stop thinking about the whole white privilege thing. The only good thing to do was to be anti-racist, which involved counting my friends and tallying the number of black, white, brown friends I had, and then making sure to make enough friends so that I had those numbers even. It meant making sure I didn't read too many books by white authors or listen to the wrong kind of music. I was really torn on rap because I
like a cult would do.
didn't know if that was appropriation or appreciation. Even in my own writing, because I write fiction, I couldn't write about characters of color because that was appropriation. But I also couldn't write only about white characters because that was bad. I essentially couldn't write about anyone whose identity wasn't exactly the same as mine. But then I would just be populating my stories with many versions of me, which sounds incredibly boring. I attended this vigil for George Floyd. It was a Friday evening. Usually I would be going to Shabbat services, but this seemed
we got a small hat.
More important. I guess maybe that tells you something, that it started to seem almost spiritual, religious. It started with the organizers saying something about...
It became a religion to them. That's what I'm saying. See this? These people are technically praying for him, which is, kind of an okay thing, but they're praying to a piece of trash, and they all got scammed. So this is a cult, basically. Remember, the BLM people just bought mansions and stuff like that. Not really any, I think the Floyd family
barely even got any money either.
How you might not feel comfortable here, and if so, you're probably part of the problem.
Yeah.
And I absorbed that message,
Exactly,
absorbed
Lenny.
the idea that I was part of the problem. And I felt like attending this vigil was part of this atonement for what I had done
Or you're a cult of and now you're worried about being white or something.
wrong. And I guess what I had done wrong was just being white.
Look at that. That is what drives the division. And these people have nothing else to do, so they dig their heels in. That hoe will dig her high heels in. And you want to know why hoes like high-heeled shoes?
Because they don't have a soul. Oh, the shoe is soulless. It's got no support at all.
When I came back in my sophomore year, it didn't go away, like the campus culture being very vitriolic. And I just slipped right back into where I was. One thing that begun to help, I had found Jonathan Haidt. He spoke about why people felt so
nice. We might look into this one time. I should read that book.
Deeply, moved and pulled.
And by the way, look how this guy, notice how this guy did what? Self-reflection. He was respectful the whole time. He didn't make everything about him. He was, now he's going to read a book. Those other people, what did they see? So maybe that's another thing too, where reading the book is a little bit different from the Plato's cave allegory of just seeing the shadow puppet. At least you engage your own mind more.
By politics as a coping mechanism or whatever it was. I delve deeply into Jonathan Haidt's work. Watched over like 200 hours of his videos on YouTube. Wow. I was really just trying to understand what the hell was going on. And this guy seemed to have it figured out.
I don't want to say that COVID had a silver lining, but I think leaving campus and being at home was kind of a turning point in emerging from.
So once this girl has to go back into regular society, dude, this girl, I don't know, she might be a complete demon. Or they corrupted her.
Face. In the summer of 2020, I was at home and surrounded by my thoughts. In high school, my friend and I started the Kindness Club. It involves a lot of lollies.
She looks like she comes from money. So that also helps too. And she's a dog!
That I had strayed from my goals of kindness, compassion, genuine social justice, and that these set of thought processes was really unhealthy and was making me miserable. And I didn't want to keep going with that. I wasn't really sure what the alternative was until a friend sent me a link. I was astonished to find that there were Black thinkers writing about race and sharing ideas that I never heard on campus. I listened to a lot of The Glenn Show with John McWhorter.
Why is that? Why is that? This is why. This is exactly fucking why, right here. They have the color of these are the professors. They have the puppet. It's funny, they even make their shadow puppets in color, but not these ones. So he can only see red and black. In her case, just black and white. She couldn't even imagine that a Black people were calling out bad Black behavior and all that. So she couldn't see a shade of gray in another sense.
Glenn Lowry, that was great. I got really into Titania McGrath, the fictional activist. I read Coddling of the
fictional activist. All right, I don't know. I never really heard of that.
American Mind and was cool. Oh wow, this is exactly what's been happening to me. It was this whole new.
Yeah, that's it. I'm telling you guys, this is a really awesome hidden gem of a book. It's really kind of about data, a lot of it though.
World of ideas was opened up to me, and it was so exciting to feel like I was thinking for myself again.